Imagine waking up one morning and realizing something feels off. The streets are quiet. The parks feel empty. You look around and suddenly it hits you, there are no dogs. No barking, no wagging tails, no happy faces waiting by the door. All the dogs have vanished. This isn't just a weird dream. This is a world without dogs. And it's about to get a whole lot stranger. Dogs have been with us for thousands of years. They were the first animals humans ever domesticated. Long before cows, cats, or chickens, humans made friends with wolves. Over time, those wolves turned into the furry companions we now know as dogs. They've guarded our homes, herded our sheep, helped us hunt, and most importantly, given us loyalty and love for over 15,000 years. So if they suddenly disappeared, the impact would be massive, and not just emotionally. Let's start with the obvious. Around 65 million households in the United States alone own at least one dog. Globally, the dog pet industry is worth over $100 billion. That includes food, grooming, toys, vet care, training, boarding, you name it. If dogs disappeared, all those industries would take a massive hit. Dog trainers, groomers, pet food companies, dog toy manufacturers, and even veterinarians would see their jobs vanish or shrink drastically. Imagine all those pet stores closing down and millions of people suddenly out of work. And all those cute dog costumes? Left hanging on the rack. But it goes deeper than jobs. Dogs aren't just pets. They're workers. Think about guide dogs for the blind, service dogs for people with disabilities, police dogs who sniff out bombs, and military dogs trained to detect threats. Dogs even help rescue people after earthquakes and avalanches. Without them, we'd have to rely much more on technology, which, let's be honest, still isn't as smart as a good dog's nose. That nose, by the way, is up to 100,000 times more sensitive than ours. A dog can detect a teaspoon of sugar in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Good luck building a robot that can beat that. And then there's therapy. Dogs help people in hospitals, nursing homes, and mental health centers. Just spending 10 minutes petting a dog can lower your cortisol levels, that's the hormone linked to stress. They boost dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals that make us feel happy. Without dogs, many people would lose a major emotional support system. Loneliness, depression, and anxiety could all increase. For some people, especially the elderly or those with mental health struggles, dogs aren't just pets, they're lifelines. Okay, so the human side of things takes a big hit. But what about the environment? After all, dogs are domesticated, they're not part of the wild ecosystem, right? Well, it's complicated. In many places, especially rural areas and developing countries, stray or feral dogs have formed their own little place in nature. They often act as unofficial pest control, keeping rodent populations in check. Without them, rat numbers could spike in some cities. On the other hand, in places where dogs compete with wild animals for food or space, some species like foxes or coyotes might bounce back and grow in number. The sudden absence of millions of animals always shakes up the food chain, even if they weren't wild to begin with. Also, consider rural farming communities. Herding dogs like border collies and Australian shepherds help manage sheep and cattle across massive landscapes. Without them, farmers would need more people, more machines, and more money. Livestock management would become harder, slower, and less efficient. Now here's a weird thought, without dogs, crime might actually increase. Seriously. Sniffer dogs at airports and border checkpoints are trained to detect illegal drugs, explosives, and even smuggled cash. Some are even trained to find people, like in search and rescue missions after natural disasters. Without them, law enforcement agencies would lose one of their sharpest tools. Technology helps, sure, but dogs are still the gold standard for scent detection. And that's not changing anytime soon. And let's not forget science. Yep, dogs are part of scientific research, but not in the way you might think. Researchers study dog behavior to better understand human psychology. Dogs are one of the few animals that can follow a human pointing gesture. Not even chimps do that reliably. Studying dogs has also helped scientists understand aging, cognition, and even diseases like Alzheimer's. Dogs can get dementia too, and by researching their brains, scientists learn more about our own. Without dogs, that entire field of study would slow down. So, here's a wild question: if dogs went extinct, could we just bring them back? Well, technically, cloning and genetic engineering are progressing fast. But bringing back all dogs? That's not realistic. First, we'd need perfectly preserved dog DNA. Then we'd need surrogate mothers, Probably wolves or similar canines. And even if you clone one or two, you wouldn't get back the vast variety of over 300 dog breeds. That took humans 15,000 years of selective breeding to create. So no, you can't just 3D print a golden retriever. Now let's think about what happens to the human-dog bond. For centuries, dogs have been there for us, during wars, pandemics, natural disasters. They've shared our homes, our lives, our emotions. Kids grow up with them. Seniors find companionship in them. They're woven into our stories. So what would the next few years look like in a world without dogs? In the first few days, social media would explode. People would post pictures of their missing dogs, theories would fly, conspiracies would pop up. Within a few weeks, industries would start collapsing: pet stores, grooming businesses, dog food companies. Police and military units would scramble to find replacements for working dogs. In a few months, people would start feeling the emotional toll. Especially those who depended on dogs for therapy, comfort, or mobility. Over the next few years, society would try to adapt. Maybe robotic pets would rise. Maybe other animals would be trained to do dog jobs. But nothing would quite fill the void. Because nothing has evolved to understand us, trust us, and love us the way dogs do. And here's the kicker: dogs aren't just animals we keep around. They are a reflection of ourselves. Their loyalty, playfulness, and affection mirror the best parts of humanity. We shaped them, and they, in turn, shaped us. So, if you've got a dog nearby, give them a scratch behind the ears. Maybe toss them a treat. Because a world without dogs? That's a much quieter, lonelier place. And we're lucky we don't live there. If you found this weirdly interesting, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more curious questions, and hit the bell so you never miss a fact you didn't know you needed.